thanks for joining us at Taking Care of Your Business with Carrie, where we're looking at how to maximize the value of your business and what it means to know your numbers to get there. We're at the end of the COVID-19 lockdown and businesses are just starting to reopen. We've seen some amazing innovations in how business is conducted over this lockdown, and some businesses have really flourished. Others have not. I spoke to a number of businesses recently and they don't believe they're going to reopen. So I got to thinking that sometimes maximizing your value means minimizing your losses, and a shutdown is the best option for a business. I was involved in a shutdown decision at a large multinational corporation where we were trying to decide whether to shut down a line, and in the end they did shut it down. In my own businesses, there were a number of occasions where I had the same decision, was faced with the same decision. You know, times are tough in the beginning, and do you keep going or do you shut down? Very stressful. So my first recommendation is to take a day off if you can. If it's not imminent that the chains are going on the door tonight, take a day off, breathe. Just go and do something fun or happy or relaxing. Climb a mountain, lay on the grass, watch the clouds go by. Collect yourself. We all know the old story about putting your own oxygen mask on first before helping someone else on a plane. The same story applies here. You're going to want to take care of yourself in order to take care of your business. So collect yourself, take a moment, and then move forward with the decision making. So once you've had a chance to collect yourself, the next step is to collect some information. So the first step is to assess. Assess where you're at. First, open the file drawer and pull out that dusty old lease if you're a tenant. And you're looking for 3 specific clauses. The first clause you're looking for is a personal guarantee. So what that means is if you have a personal guarantee and you're not going to be able to pay your rent anymore, the business is not going to be able to pay the rent for the balance of the lease term, the landlord can come after the owners of the business for compensation. And that would be for rent and usually maintenance fees as well. If you're at the beginning of a lease term, it can be very significant. If you're at the end of a lease term, it can be almost nothing, but you need to know. The second term is an equipment provision. Equipment and inventory. So what that tells you is if you have that clause in your lease, and you stop paying your rent, the equipment and the inventory in the business becomes the property of the landlord. You lose title to your equipment and inventory. The third clause you're looking for is an improvements clause. And I haven't seen it that often, but from time to time I see it. What it means is the tenant is responsible for returning the premises to the condition they were in before they took occupancy. So if you're a retailer, for example, you might have to remove all the slat wall. If you are an office and you've demised the place into smaller offices, you might be responsible for removing all those walls. If you're a heavy equipment type operation, you may have cut holes in the roof for venting or affixed machinery to the floor. You may be responsible for repairing that roof and returning the concrete to its original condition. So those costs need to be assessed as well. So next, once you've had a good look at your lease, I'm going to recommend open a spreadsheet and start listing all the costs of shutting down. Costs and benefits. So first, obviously, how much cash have you got? And if you have accounts receivable, how much can you turn that into? Okay, how much are you going to get cash? Next, look at inventory. Realistically, how much can you get for that inventory? Okay, so I have had parts in my business, and the parts might be 3 weeks old, or they might be 3 years old, or they might be, I've seen businesses where they have 30-year-old parts. 30-year-old parts worth 0. Recent parts worth probably 70–80% of retail. So how much are you realistically going to get for your inventory? And at that point too, can you return some of it? Can you get an eBay seller in to give you something for that really old inventory? Something's better than nothing. A box of inventory in your garage doesn't help. A dollar helps. So a dollar is more than 0, and try to look at it that way. Because sometimes it's heartbreaking to take such a low settlement on something, but it's still better than 0. So, what about equipment? How much can you get for your equipment? Who or can you sell it to? And how long will it take? What about other leases? If you have vehicle or machinery leases, how much can you read them as well? What's that going to cost you to end them, if you can end them? What about regular liabilities? How much do you owe? If you have government liabilities, it's unlikely you'll get out of them. So how much do you owe the government? Tax, payroll liabilities, and so on. What about loans and credit cards? How much do you owe? What about payroll costs? So if you have employees and you sever them, do you owe them accrued vacation time? Do you have severance costs? Do you have any legacy benefits costs that you will have to incur? Any of those kind of costs, look for them. And any other costs that you can think of that apply to your particular business. Disposal fees and so on. So assess all your costs. Then you come to a number, you either have cash or you have a deficit. So then I want to recommend you do a projection. Be brutally honest about what realistic revenue is going to look like, and I would recommend doing it 1 to 2 years out. So, realistic revenue by month for 1 to 2 years. All right? That gives you the ability to at least talk to these guys. So then I want to recommend that you make a copy of that page and do what's called a break-even analysis. And basically you're just going to change the expense lines. You know what you estimated your revenue. Now go down through your expense lines. What could you absolutely get rid of? You know, maybe you can cut your advertising in half. Maybe you can go to debit card only transactions to reduce your bank fees. Maybe you can, you know, what's the minimum payroll that you could incur and still break even? The two big ones you're looking at are payroll and rent. What is the minimum rent that you, or the maximum rent that you could pay and still break even? What's the maximum payroll you could pay and still break even? So once you have those numbers, it gives you a launch pad. All right? So once you assess the situation, then I want to recommend that you talk to your stakeholders. All right? Stakeholders are the people who have some skin in your game. They're the people who stand to lose if you shut down. And they have an incentive to help you so that they lose less. So know that going in. You want them to help you to help themselves. All right? So your landlord. Unless you're the only tenant, he's had some calls ahead of you. What are they willing to do? If you stay open and if you shut down. If you stay open, are they willing to cut your rent for a short period of time? If you shut down, are they willing to give up that personal guarantee? What's your landlord willing to do to help you, if anything? Call your bankers. Call your bankers and your credit card companies. They're doing all sorts of things beyond government assistance to help people now. You might be able to get interest-only payments on your loans. You might be able to get no payments and it gets tacked on the end of the term. Credit card companies are forgiving interest for a month or two. They're allowing you to have no minimum payment for a few months and so on like that. So call them. They're helping people, and you can get there. Going back to the landlord for a second, when you've done this break-even analysis and you've estimated what rent you can pay, that's one of the benefits of doing this step, is you can talk to your landlord and say, hey, I can pay this amount. Would you be willing to take that? It's very helpful. Call your experts, your accountant, your lawyer, and one you might not have thought of, call a bankruptcy specialist. All right, so these people may have solutions that you may not have considered. Your accountant, you may end up with losses from this that you may be able to carry back and end up with a nice tax refund that makes this a non-issue. You might break even in the end. Your attorney may be able to help you with your landlord. He may see what's going on with other landlords and other tenants in the world right now and be able to give you some suggestions for things to talk to your landlord about. Bankruptcy specialists, they may be able to help you settle claims against you in ways that you haven't thought of. Again, they do it every day. They've seen more than any of us, so talk to these folks. It may be the win you need. First call is usually free, and if you have to pay to engage them, I've found that the advice I get saves me 10 times the cost of them. So there you go. Another guy to call is your local business broker. Okay? Business brokers are usually plugged into their community. They know who's buying, who's selling, where you can get money, and so on and so forth. These guys may be able to help you sell a piece or your whole business, especially if you're looking at a shutdown situation. Any improvement on that is a win. So if you have a bargain price, he may be able to find a buyer for you. In addition, they may be able to preserve a little confidentiality for you when they go to prospective buyers to talk for you. Suppliers and customers. So talk to your suppliers and customers. All right. Your suppliers, if you have a balance owing and you're having a tough time paying it, pay something on a regular schedule. So weekly, monthly, bi-monthly. Pay something on a consistent basis, and you may be able to keep the collection agents at bay. Talk to your suppliers about returning goods, about reducing minimum shipments if you have perishable inventory. If you're a bakery, maybe they'll ship you less without charging you more. If you have just a few key customers, maybe talk to them. You may be able to work together, to partner together to find a way to keep them going and you going. So maybe you both take a little haircut and reduce your margins to keep goods flowing to end customers at this time. So it's better you both survive than both of you struggle. So call these guys. And last, call your insurance broker. So most business insurance includes business interruption or lost profit protection. You may be told that this loss doesn't qualify, but I attended a webinar last week and their advice was file a claim anyway. Some states are mandating insurers to pay to cover this event. Some of the big companies who've experienced losses and their insurance companies have denied their claims. They've filed litigation, so that may set a precedent that you benefit from somewhere in the future. So file that claim. It may get turned down today, but it's in the system, and someday you may see some compensation from it when the dust settles. All right? So now you know where you're at if you shut down. You know where you're at if you continue. You've talked to your stakeholders. Now you can make a decision. So number 3, make your decision and act. All right? So take these guys up on any benefit or any help they were offering you. if you're shutting down, start liquidating as quickly as you can. Reduce your costs as quickly as you can. If you can run with one guy in the shop to shut down or two guys to keep going, do it as quickly as you can. Reduce your costs and start converting your assets and liabilities to cash. All right? So good luck with it. I have one story to leave you with. I knew a business owner who struggled and struggled and couldn't pull it out of the red. And he didn't take these options. He disappeared in the night, and I'm going to tell you it's not a good option. The creditors dogged him until, well, I never heard him not be dogged by creditors. 4, 5, 6, might even have been 7 or 8 years that I knew his story. And he had to try and be in hiding. He couldn't move on with his life. So work with your stakeholders to come up with a settlement, with a strategy that's a win-win. Once you disappear in the night, all of a sudden any goodwill they had to help you or settle is gone. You want to come up with a settlement that you and your family can live with and create an end date and move forward to rebuild your life. So good luck with it. All the best, and thank you very much for joining us at Taking Care of Your Business with Carrie.